A little bit.
Is it on?
It says you offline.
It says offline. No, it's on.
Okay, I'm on it. Hey!
What's happening?
I see me.
You see yourself?
I do.
Alright, great. Welcome everybody to the Grown Folk Exchange.
Happy Friday, y'all.
You know it.
Okay, so
Go ahead and read
is
what
that
you got.
official? Oh, my script.
Yes. Read your script.
So the Illusion Bar and Lounge DC presents the Grown Folk Exchange live happy hour podcast with Shanice and Ty. I'm Shanice and this is my co-host Ty, and together we are the Grown Folk Exchange. Our goal is to bring grown folks together every week to have an open dialogue about trending topics, dating, social media, current events, finance, real estate, masculinity, health, and so much more.
That's a shame you gotta put masculinity in there. Ain't nothing about the female, just masculinity.
Yeah, because that's what's, a little shaky right now.
Oh, the men are the shaky ones. Hey fellas, I got y'all. Y'all ain't got nothing to worry about. That's
Y'all
why they
look
chose
shaky.
me for this job.
So tonight, shut up. Tonight we are broadcasting live from Illusions Bar and Lounge located at 5213 Georgia Avenue Northwest. So come on and see us. Our theme for tonight is mental health. It's a new year, new mentality. Sam, our mental health expert for this evening, will join us in a few minutes. So in addition to our questions, Sam will be answering your questions and chiming in the comments as well.
So make sure y'all hit us up. You know what I'm saying? Whenever you're watching this ad, flood the comments, share it with your friends.
Yeah.
Stop by if you're riding down Georgia Avenue, because I know I got some people in the area, man. It's happy hour here at Illusions. Y'all should come on down, get you a nice drink, sit around, laugh, talk, enjoy yourself with us, because we about to really get into some stuff, because we talk about mental illness.
Yes.
It's real big right now. When did it get so popular? Everything is
I don't
mental.
know. It's crazy. I had a conversation with my best friend the other day about our daughters. They're both 16.
Oh.
And just the stuff that scares them and make them have like anxiety attacks
The kids.
is so weird. Like the other day we took bringing to 7-Eleven and she didn't want to go in by herself because it was 2 grown men in there. And she was like, y'all not coming here with me? And we're like, no, just go get whatever you need to get. And then I realized, yeah, it's 2 grown men standing there by the lottery machine. So
Right.
she just felt, uneasy.
I mean, but can you blame her with what's going on in this day and time?
But that's what I'm saying. Back in the day, we would go to 7-Eleven like it wasn't anything. We'd be pressed, Mom, give me $5, let me run to the store.
Yeah.
But now, we're just like, Mom, come with me. Come with me.
It's the times, man. The
It
time.
is.
It's not the same like it was back when we was coming up.
And I don't think
I was coming up.
I've had a conversation with anyone who doesn't say, I be getting anxiety about this, or I get anxiety about that. So is it something in the water?
Well,
Something
we
in
was
the
having an anxiety attack back in the day and we just didn't realize it.
You think so?
It's possible. You could have been going through some stuff back in those days and they just didn't diagnose it. But now you got somebody like that's our age who's doing the diagnosis.
Yeah.
They can label stuff different nowadays.
Yeah. Like even at work, just people who have to talk in meetings afterwards, they're like, oh my gosh, I had a panic attack when I went in there. And I'm just like, I don't know, it just seems like it's an epidemic right now.
I have had that happen to me before at work.
You guys talk? You guys scared?
Nah, me, no. This lady broke down on me and it was real weird. Made me want to get out the room. Like, we was working on a project and she kind of got very emotional about the project. And I was like, all right, remember, this is just work. It's just a job.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. But I did one of these. I'll be back. And rolled out.
Yeah, I remember my first panic attack at work. I was pregnant, and I had to go get one of the senior managers to sign something. And I literally walked in his office, and I was stuck for 3 minutes. I couldn't talk, I couldn't move, and I didn't know what was going on.
Wow.
You know, but
y'all
I believe that was
emotional.
hormones back then.
That's what I was about to say. But then y'all got something to blame it on. Y'all got a lot of shit to blame stuff on.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna blame y'all cycle for getting mad.
No,
and
y'all blame our cycles
up
for
and
when we
down.
get mad.
We ain't got shit to blame nothing on. It's just, I'm having a fucked up day, period. That's it.
But y'all don't even admit that. What's wrong with nothing?
I mean,
Nothing.
that's because we taught to hide, you know, not mask it, but like,
So your parents told you not to tell what you were feeling?
okay. Certain things you could come to your parents and say as a man, as a boy.
Mm-hmm.
But when you got too up in age as a teenage boy, and as you progress to become a man, there are things that you just can't talk about no more. You just can't complain about no more because you're a man. You know what I'm
So
saying?
what age was that? Was that like 14, 15?
Actually, it probably started around about, I want to say it might start about 8.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying?
When you're old enough to take the trash out.
Think about it. You're old enough to take the trash out. You're old enough to walk. As you got older, it was like, carry me, you're a boy. Fuck, look at man, you better walk your ass. You big enough to walk now. Ain't no more carrying you. You start to fade stuff out. And as you become a man, you start to fade some things out. You're supposed to. Now, you ain't supposed to be doing the same thing. But y'all just, women just add it all into one big pile of glock. Be like, y'all gotta do that.
I don't agree with that. Let me see. How do I get my comments? Go back.
How you get your comments?
We're not going to do that.
Okay, hold on.
Give me to my comments.
Y'all see who the grown one is here.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's just a tad bit more tech savvy than I am.
But there you go, right there. And you see the people come turn it in. Look now.
Oh, you should have told me
My
that.
niece is calling me in the middle of the show. She picks the right time every time.
Put on speakerphone.
My niece?
So outside of anxiety, some of the other topics we're going to talk about today is this new, there was a story broke about Airbnb doing a social media scan. And I guess they do this to see whether or not they want you to be a person that rents, or if they want you to be a person that rents your house out. So they'll scan your social media pictures and posts to see what type of person you are.
Oh, that's getting like that for everything.
Yeah, so Sam has agreed to look at our social media posts and pictures and give us a nice little assessment.
Oh, boy. I don't know if I want to do that to mine.
This is gonna be
Have you
fun.
seen mine?
I've seen.
I've calmed down though. I changed some of the things that I post because I would get,
Wow, because I told you about this. You went and cleaned it up last night.
nah, I ain't do nothing like
Oh,
that.
okay.
I never go and do nothing like that. But it was when I started the business, when I started going my route with my business and doing those sort of things, I went back and looked at some of the stuff that I had posted.
It was like, nah,
Let
not
me
this one.
take that out. Let me delete this. Let me delete that.
There's nothing wrong with that, because I think we post in the moment, and we don't really think, like, 4 years from now, do I still want this? I don't even feel like that anymore, so let me take it off.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't feel like that no more, but I am a spontaneous poster. And I used to be the type of poster where I would just post what, if I thought it was funny, fuck it, it's funny.
Yes.
And then people be like, you crazy, why you post that? You be like,
Because it's funny.
I laughed at it. Then sometimes you get a message and be like, that wasn't funny. Or if you got somebody in your life, they be like, oh, so that's just how you feel, huh? What the fuck about me? And you be like, well, shit, well, it wasn't meant for you.
Yeah, like, we felt this way at this moment. I think people just take everything personal. So it might be, oh, he must be talking about me in this post.
That's that lumping everything into one big old pot.
Stop doing that. I'm not just saying this women. Men
That's that
do it.
lump it all in, put it all together. We're gonna figure it out. Just one big pile of goop.
Whatever. So we also want to talk about men competing with women, especially their own women.
Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Men compete with women on what?
On different levels. As soon as we buy a new car, you gotta go buy a new car. We get a better job, we start making a little bit of coins, then you want to start applying for a job. Making more money.
Who does that?
You.
Me.
The next topic we have is going to be the overinflated and fragile male ego.
Jesus Christ. Is this a man bashing show today?
It's really not.
What
It's
did I
really
walk
not.
in?
It's really not.
Shit. Hey, Sam, I'm making some
There was only two
guidance
things.
after this one. What's on here for women?
That was the only two
The
things.
Airbnb is women? No.
It could be.
No.
What about petty arguments?
That's definitely y'all.
See?
So why y'all pick petty arguments when y'all want something? And just say, give me something.
I don't know who you talking about. I don't do that.
Ah.
If I want something, the last thing I'm gonna do is start an argument.
Mm.
No, that's when I'm like extra sweet. Because I want something.
Mm.
Would you give in to somebody who started an argument? No, you'll be more likely to be like, F you, no, I'm out.
I don't know. That makeup sex can kind of good sometimes.
So that's why you think they started. If you think that's what they want. I don't know, that might be true.
Oh no, I think that sometimes they want you to show them the attention. Show them the
Yeah.
attention.
I think it
Give
was
them some. Then that attention that you show turns into mold. And that's when you get the goods, fellas.
So what was the pettiest argument that you can think of that led to makeup?
How that show go? I plead the fifth.
Okay, what about the second?
It's like, I don't know. I don't know. I think any type of argument to me is petty. I don't like arguing. I don't. Who like to argue?
You argue with me over text about the smallest things. You like to argue.
No.
I think you do.
Pretty much tell you, however you gonna set it up, whatever the format gonna be, go for it. You be like, okay.
No.
Why you blaming all this on me?
Because you are an instigator and you love to argue and you love to debate.
I love the debate, yes.
So what's the difference between
Can
a
I just-
debate and an argument? And don't say emotions. Like, what's the difference between the two?
Alright, so since you don't want me to say emotions, I mean, you argue with somebody because you're passionate about what you're arguing about.
That could be a debate.
Alright, so do you debate about when somebody cheated on you? Is that a debate or an argument?
That's probably going to be a case. I don't know.
See? Nah.
No, I think, yeah, it's going to be an
see?
argument and then
It's gonna be an
I'm
argument.
throwing some stuff.
See, now you fight.
Yeah.
That's a shame. You can't be fighting. Did we go black? Or we still alive?
Let me
They
see.
be acting crazy sometimes. Oh, yeah, we're still good.
I'm still trying to see the comments. I
I don't see no comments here. There we go. Let's see if we can see some comments here.
You said a debate has two willing participants.
Oh, you can see the comments? Okay, we got a little narrator over here.
Rachel. Rachel.
Hey, Rachel.
What's up, Rachel? How you doing?
So what did she say? A debate?
Has two willing participants.
And the
Okay.
argument has...
Two people in love.
Shut up.
Two people that are mentally connected. Because I can debate with you and we might not be.
An argument is based off of someone, one of y'all doing something wrong.
Ah, see? Told you.
That's an argument. A
The
debate
female
is a
cheated,
discussion.
so then it became an argument.
Why the female don't cheat?
Because black men don't cheat.
That's a lie.
Nope. It's the truth.
I want to know who started that hashtag.
What?
Black men.
Black. No, which one person? You did.
A black woman did it.
Black man.
A black woman did it. Everything y'all do goes,
You did it.
I did it.
Who found it?
Hey, I take the credit for it. Can I get paid? How much money is in that?
Okay, now I can see
Now
it.
you can see the comments.
Hey.
What else you
Hey,
see?
mommy.
Where the fellas at? Fellas, where y'all at?
Hey, I see Kevin. Kevin's here.
I need y'all. Come on, fellas. I need some
You
help.
need some help?
You see, they ganged up on me. They got 5 topics on here, all of them about us. They,
No, it's
are we
not.
really
Only
stressing y'all
two.
out? Us men really
There's
stressing
only-
y'all women out like that?
No, I don't get stressed.
You know?
Nope.
Oh, that smirk, little snicker.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. So besides kids with social pressures,
Mm-hmm.
you have any social pressures that really like?
Yeah, I think depending on the people you hang around,
Mm-hmm.
you might feel pressure to do, some people may feel pressure to fit in. Like if this person is always traveling, then you may feel pressure that, oh, I guess I need to start traveling more.
I gotta do what they do.
Yeah. Especially with social media. You know, if this person is doing something and they got famous, and the next person is going to try their hand with that too.
That's copycat.
Whatever.
Or why would you consider that pressure though instead of? I
think the pressure part comes with the insecurity.
I be trying to bring
Yes.
everybody along with me, right?
Yeah.
Some the type that would be more along the lines of, I did it. Come on, let me show you how to do it.
Right. Which is how it should be.
But you said that that's really not the case. It's pretty much that you people feel pressure from one of their friends just make it.
Right. So then they feel like they need to do something similar to get the same type of attention. Like, you can just tell about the reality stars. Like, everyone thinks that they're going to be the next rapper because it worked out for Cardi B, you know? Like, no, I don't think your situation is going to work that way.
But what if they just wanted to be a rapper though? What if that was just what they wanted to do before they even heard of Cardi B?
Could be.
You gotta give people credit for what to do something for themselves.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know.
No. Especially if nothing before this showed that you wanted to be a rapper, then all of a sudden now, because you think it's easy. So if I go on this reality show, this is how my life is going to turn out. No.
What's wrong with your phone?
I have no idea. Maybe let me get off Wi-Fi.
My phone look good. That dude nice. See that?
Let me see. Who? No.
That's a handsome fella there.
I think you're about to kick you off.
You gonna
Let's
kick me
put
off
Sam
unless
on
you
the
talk
hot
the same
seat.
by yourself?
No, you
Yeah,
gotta
let
stay.
him,
You
yeah,
gotta stay.
let him drill you and put you on the seat. Might as well let you lay down on this bench and let him sit there and talk to you and get into you. So I know what I'm dealing with when I got a co-host with you.
I'm chill.
Oh, what y'all don't know is that sometimes I won't be here to host.
There
She'll
you
be
go.
hosting by herself.
He gonna be right here.
I'll be in the building, but I won't be in front of this camera.
He gonna be right here.
Sometimes you'll be sitting up here by yourself,
I
and
keep
you and
shackles.
your girlfriends.
So
Y'all can sit up here and talk about whatever y'all want to talk about, and bash man by yourself.
we don't. Me and my friends don't man bash. We don't.
Okay. What's the worst thing y'all ever said about a dude?
Y'all ain't shit.
Y'all man bash.
No, that's just facts.
All right. Okay.
I don't know what I try not to generalize. Oh man.
Good. That's great. That's wonderful. I like that. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause we don't
But you, on the other hand, y'all women this and y'all ladies that.
I don't put all y'all in there. I ain't say all y'all.
What is this, 85%?
I don't know. I guess it's experience. What you come across.
Well, yeah, you're gonna feel that way because you probably date the same type of woman.
God damn, y'all don't think I like a variety?
Wait, did we just say that like?
Yeah. See, I'm getting jumped.
Yeah.
There's two women up in here saying the same damn thing.
Yeah, you probably have a type, and that's what you attract.
Nope.
And it ends the same way.
Nope.
Slash tires and they bust the windows out your car.
Nope.
You ever had that?
Nope.
You've never made someone go that crazy.
Nope.
Bleach your clothes?
Nope.
Burn stuff?
Cut up my jersey. I'll get rid of that one. I had some authentic jerseys.
Do you think you deserve it? Looking back, did you deserve that?
Hell no, I don't deserve that.
I ain't even gonna put you on the spot and ask you how many times she called you cheating, because I'm sure that's what it was for. That wasn't it? What you do?
Oh man.
You ain't, okay, it was like what Lisa left our Lopez. You didn't buy her a jersey.
No, I ain't nothing to do with that.
Okay. But we don't want Ty to get emotional, so we're not gonna talk about that.
I be busy.
You be busy. Okay.
I got a lot going on.
Okay.
Shake it and move.
No, poor jersey. Have you replaced them?
Nah, I grew out of jerseys. I don't even want them no more.
Oh, okay.
Some of the stuff I had in my past, I don't even.
So you like just a different person? A more mature person. You're a grown
Is
person.
everybody more mature as they get older?
No.
Oh, okay. Speaking from experience.
Yes. Not me personally.
Okay.
But I know men and women who you still act like you did 15 years ago.
Huh?
Yeah. There's people who still act the same way.
Oh,
Yeah.
they still dress the same?
Yeah. You know, I think some people just get set in their ways. I don't know. I'm not the expert, but I know who is.
Who's that, Sam? Sam?
That was a weak drum roll, but.
Yeah, you gotta get your drums together. We gotta get you some instruments.
All right, Sam, your mic's on?
Sam, you ready to come up here and join us today, bud? And tell us why she crazy?
My mic on, yes it is.
Come on up,
Oh,
Sam.
awesome.
Come on up here and join us on the hot
Hey
seat.
everyone, Sam's here. Hey, look here.
What's up, bud?
Sade.
Where am I? In the
Right in the middle. We'll put you in the mix.
Nice to meet
Thanks
you
for having
again,
me.
sir.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Slow down some woman so we know we here.
That ain't nobody
There
going
we go. There you go.
Usually it's not, my job's not this much fun. I've been laughing away the whole time, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You don't laugh at your friends? Oh, you probably can.
Yeah, he's gonna just be sitting there laughing at you and telling them that you had a heartbreak. And he's going, oh shit.
Laughter sometimes is good.
Hey, you gonna get fired.
Probably.
Yeah, you're done. You're done.
Yeah, I couldn't do that job. Okay, so a few minutes ago, Sam took a peek at my Facebook, my Instagram, and Ty's Facebook.
Let's just talk about
and-
yours right now.
No. So he's going to give us an assessment and let everyone know who's the most sane person on this couch.
Oh, who's the most sane between the two of us? Me?
That's not what we're going to do? You're not going to say who's sane?
Well, I was just waiting for you guys to finish.
No, we're gonna let you go ahead and tell
Have
us.
the floor.
You really got to know?
I do want to know.
Well, first of all, any therapist will tell you they can figure you out by just looking at your Facebook or Instagram is probably a con artist.
Uh-oh, Airbnb.
They won't really be able to tell you who you are that fast. But you do have different personality types, right? And there's something called a yogic system. So the yogic system is like, it's from India way back in the day. And they have essentially kind of three different personality types. Right? One is the intellect. And the intellect is the person who analyze everything. And the good thing about the intellect is they're not naive. You can't get over on them because whatever comes their way, they're going to analyze it every single way. Right? Number two is devotion. The devoted person.
Devotion.
The devoted person, they're not much for analysis. They just give their heart 100%, and then that's what they do.
Okay.
And then number three is action. Right? So not too much analysis, not too much for sentimentality or heart, but they're just doers. Right?
Okay.
And what happens is throughout our lives, we kind of fall into one more than the other, right?
Okay.
I see you as Miss Devotion.
So I give my heart 100%.
I saw you're definitely a big-hearted person. And
Yeah.
the people that you love them really, really hard.
Yeah.
Because I saw the same people over and over again, right? And you, my brother,
Uh-oh. I wanna know.
you definitely are Mr. Action.
Yeah.
You a go-getter,
You know
right?
That's
And
what's up.
that's what you guys are. But there's always a downside to each.
it. Oh, shit. Oh, excuse me.
It is. Would you like to guess what the downside is to being 100% devoted?
Yeah, you get hurt a lot.
Mm.
You get drained a lot.
Wow.
Wait, was that the answer?
Exactly. Because once you give, you
See,
give
I need
100%.
to take his job. Y'all can do this.
You can do it.
Oh, God. We didn't see you do that.
So that's really it. I mean, but you're able to experience joy, right? Because once you give everything and it's reciprocated, it's a beautiful existence for you. You sleep great,
Yeah,
right? You just, whatever issues you have, you give it, and then that's it.
that's it. Let it go.
It's just who to be devoted to. That's always the question for you. That's always the main problem. And Mr. Action over here. Oh boy.
Oh boy. Mr. Action.
The good thing about you is now, in the way our society is, you're going to be very successful.
Thank you. I
You
appreciate
know,
that.
because you wake up early. I mean, you got me in here. You didn't even ask me. You just told me to do it.
Oh shit.
He is a little bossy.
I was just like, all right, come on, you're going to do it. And I just ended up doing it, you know, because you were that confident. You know what I'm saying? And you definitely need that to be successful in this world. But what is the downside about being 100% action?
Sometimes you make the wrong action. You just jump. You don't think. You might just make it out of impulse. I do that a lot.
You don't need me. I know. You guys got to figure it out. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
The thing about the action is there's never enough time in the day.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you sleep?
Not really.
And that's another thing, right? Because it's, every problem is looked at as something that needs to be acted upon.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the people that are close to you, if they're not where you feel like they should be, it's not going to be much empathy. You know, it's gonna, you should be doing more, right? And so that's the thing. You know, being close to you could be difficult.
Right.
Because if you feel like they're not putting the same, because you're going to put in so much work, if they're not putting the work, you don't have much time for the sitting and analyzing. Right? I'm Mr. Analysis, so I'm right between y'all two. Because I'll sit and analyze everything, but I won't have, well, if you, once a person told me too much analysis is paralysis. So I'll just sit and analyze everything, but I'm not doing it. You see, so really, in the yogic system, what's healthy is to have a combination of all three headed in the same direction. You know what I'm saying?
I was going to ask you about that because sometimes I find myself being the one that you just said.
Analysis.
Analysis.
Yeah.
All right, so I used to do IT for about 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole day was built around analysis, analyzing things, figuring out the problem, figuring out, coming up with a solution for it.
Mm-hmm.
With the things and the way that I'm moving now and trying to build my empire for my businesses and everything that I'm doing, I find myself sometimes over-analyzing, and then I'd be like, well, shoot, I ain't gonna over-analyze this one. Dude, I try to have the balance, but I guess it's only in your mind when you feel like you haven't over-analyzed it, right?
Exactly. That's the number one problem as far as mental health. Anxiety, over-analysis is such a huge problem in our society. When it's time for us to rest, you know, I call it the downtime, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
At night?
Yeah, you know, just getting ready before you go to sleep, for most people, right?
Oh, okay.
Depending when you go to sleep.
We going to sleep 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, it's, you know, like for whatever, like just 3-4 hours before you go to sleep, you know, the wind down time, right?
Right.
It's very important. Healthy people, now, I can tell you about the healthy people. Doesn't mean I'm doing it personally. I'm just talking about it, right?
Oh, yeah, I understand.
You see what I'm saying? But what healthy people do is they're able to really wind down and be at peace because when they're not overthinking and they're asleep. You see, and what's happening with most of us is we're not resting. We're sleeping and we're not resting because our mind is going way too much. So when you wake up, you're not rested, so you're more irritable. And 1, 2, 3 days, no big deal. Maybe even a week or two, no big deal. But if this goes on for months and months and months and months, just like your body, your mind has a breaking point. And essentially what's happening for most of us is just, there's not enough self-care, you know? And in our environment, the way it is now, it's like this. Food is so expensive, and housing is so expensive, that what most people are essentially doing is they're just working to pay food and rent. So they're not saving money, they don't feel like they're building for the future. Everybody's pretty much in debt. And this accumulates over months and months and years and years and years and years and years. And that's really kind of what you're seeing in our society is just that pressure, that kind of relentless pressure. So we have to have self-care. We have to be able to take the time to take care of our mind and our body, because just literally nobody's going to do it for you, you know. So, yeah.
And that's crazy too, because that's exactly how it is right now for predominantly most of America. They wake up every day just to go to work, to come home so that they can take care of their kids and eat. They can't have too much fun. I mean, when they do have, people still have fun, don't get me wrong, but I know that there's a lot of people out there that have never been on a trip anyway. And they would love to just go somewhere on a trip with their kids, you know what I mean? But they can't, because every day they gotta get up and...
I feel like everyone is in survival mode.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. So, thank you, I appreciate it. I'll say it like this. I have family in Germany, right? Okay, and most of them are born and raised over there. And we're pretty much grew up here. Right? I was born in Ethiopia. I came when I was like 8 or 9, right? There's such a difference between the health over there than here. You go over there, they're so much more relaxed. They're so much more happy. They look healthier. And over here, we don't look as well. We're not doing as well emotionally, mentally.
Yeah.
Well, why? Well, in Germany, they have a guaranteed, if you're a citizen, 1 month guaranteed vacation by law. It's guaranteed. Okay?
I'm on my way.
So it doesn't matter if you're a janitor or whatever, everybody gets a month guaranteed vacation.
Guaranteed.
But is that a solid month or it's 4 weeks?
You could split it up however you want. You got 2 weeks here, right? But your employer has to give it to you by law. Okay, that's just one thing. And then another thing is their healthcare is literally like if there's anything wrong with you, you just go and you get taken care of. So, I mean, because what bankruptcy, the main reason for bankruptcy is either medical bills or divorce.
Or college.
So what's happening is we really built a system now where it's capitalism on steroids. Okay, so everybody's just running around just trying to survive, and only because everybody can kind of be in credit cards, you know, you feel like you're getting along, but you really aren't, because they take that away from you, then what? Then you barely can, you know. So everybody's just barely surviving. So that's really what it is. Now, that's not going to be the main reason why people's mental health breakdown. Is going to be how you respond to it. I always like to talk about this one woman, right? Out of all the years I've been doing mental health counseling, the story that really hit me the hardest, right, was a young lady who got HIV by her father. Okay?
That's it.
By her father.
By her father. Okay. But this is why I always talk about her, because based on what you hear on that, you would think she'd be one of the worst persons emotionally, mentally. If you meet her, she was one of the most healthy people that I met. Why? The way she handled it, what I mean by that is afterwards, the way she responded and dealt with it allowed her to not just heal, but to thrive. Oprah is another great example. What happened with Oprah? She got...
You don't like Oprah. But
Yeah, I'm sure you don't like certain aspects of it, but one thing if you hear about her, maybe it will change your mind, is she was molested by a family member when she was real young. Okay?
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why she stays on one side when she talks about the things she talks about.
Yeah, but you can say what you want about her, but one thing about her, she does have a healthy mind, right? And she thrived. Well, what is the difference between her and so many others who get abused and who really kind of go down? Ultimately, what happens is afterwards how you deal with it, right? So in therapy, people think therapy is you come and you talk about all the bad things that happened to you. That's not therapy. That's just you going back and torture. Okay?
Yeah,
No. That's not what therapy's for. Therapy is about, okay, how did you deal with it? Because the one thing about the human mind and the body is it can heal. But it's not just going to heal with time. It's going to be based on what you do with the time. Right? Just like a physical injury. You can get injured, but if you ignore it, right? And if you don't tend to it, it's not just going to heal. It can actually become what? Worse, right? It's like an emotional injury. So this is what I tell all my clients. You can heal if you don't get in this way. In other words, you do the right things, you do the healthy things, and the mind and the body will naturally heal for you. But you do have to work for it. Being healthy, I don't know anybody who's healthy. You gotta earn it. So that's the thing. You have to earn
lay
your
down
health.
all day while I be healthy.
Yes, it would be nice to just sit around and just abuse my body and my mind and be healthy, but that's not the way life works.
Right.
So I think part of the conversation is really how to be healthy. That's really the key. You know, how can I be healthier? I think everybody would like to be healthier. It's just a question.
I know I do.
Yeah. I mean, I take my time. I take time out to exercise just to make sure that I'm physically fit, and it helps my mental too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
okay.
don't really see you.
Oh, man.
So the downtime, the sleep, exercise, like what else can we do to just help cope?
Okay. One is put your past in perspective. Okay. I do these classes. Okay. I do acceptance versus guilt. Okay. So in other words, from the time I was born to right now, I can either beat myself up over the mistakes that I've made, right, or I can accept it. And it's very important because with acceptance is a certain peace that comes within me when I accept. The guilt is the tension within me, okay? And the reason it's important is because so many of my clients who had so much potential just kept revolving back. You know, our clients are people who've been, you know, really in the prison system from Lorden, right, up to now because we have a federal contract.
Yeah.
So really that's kind of most of our work, right? And you meet some of the most brilliant brothers and sisters, and they just keep, and what you realize is so many of them have such guilt for something that happened in their past. And then trauma. So many of them have been shot and stabbed, and mentally, now, you know, it's still active. They have, you know, these major symptoms because it's like a war zone, especially in DC. I mean, Georgia Avenue 15 years ago, you know? So a lot of that was kind of, not only was it not handled in a healthy way, I think that, I think the stigma that was associated with, you know, with trauma. But believe it or not, some of the most healthy people that I meet now are people who just come home from prison. I'm telling you, they have their mind, because they have time to kind of get their stuff together. Now, after they're home for about a year or two, guess what happens?
They go right back.
Right
Yeah,
back.
it's stressing out, next thing you know, and then it goes back to the
It's
right.
kind of double-edged sword, right? So you can let the time do you, or you can do the time. When you do the time and don't let the time do you, I know some brothers who have sat down and came back with a clear mind because they had so much time to just sit there and either read a book that they never read before, you know, write, and all that kind of stuff. And then some of them picked up different trades and stuff. I know a lot of guys who became physical trainers because they would be working out. And they sell so much push-ups, sit-ups, all kind of different stuff in their cell. You know, it's a way you can get your mind right. It's a way that it can fuck your mind up too.
Yes.
I don't wish it on nobody, that's for sure.
No doubt.
You know, I was thinking about the whole trauma aspect of people being stabbed and shot, and you know, they get their wounds healed physically, and then they're sent on. Like, do they ever offer counseling while they're healing to help deal? Because they're going right back to the environment, probably what sent them in the hospital in the first place.
I think it's where you get shot at. Because if you're in the hood, you get shot. I don't think they give you all that. But if you're in the military or something like that, you get shot, I could possibly see them helping you get over that trauma with something streetwise.
You think, like, they don't say this is what you signed up for? Deal with it?
No, not in the service because they have an obligation to you. You are pretty much like their property or something like that to a certain degree. So they do have an obligation to get you better to a certain level before they can let you come back out to the world.
I will say a couple of things about this.
Let's hear it, Doc. Can we call you Doc?
You know, I'm not a doctor, but if you want to call me, I'm not going to stop you. But, so, first of all, I want to say this. This is really an exciting time to be alive because technology is really starting to have a good understanding of what works and what doesn't as far as mental health, okay? So that's the good news. And there are a lot of therapists. And the stigma has gone down tremendously. That's the good thing, all right? But I'm gonna tell you really the other side to it. I'm just gonna keep it real. Therapy is typically only as good as the therapist. You can go to 10 different therapists and you can have 10 totally different experiences, all right? Because the way they teach you when you go to school, it's really a joke, to be honest with you. Okay, they'll teach you how to diagnose every type of person, right? So they'll tell you, oh, this person has depression, this person has anxiety, this person, right? Then they'll tell you there are over 400 different theories, all right, of what could work. So I can tell you what's wrong with you, but they really didn't have a really good idea of what really worked to help it.
Outside of pills.
Outside of pills. So a lot of it is pushed towards pills. And the pharmaceutical company and just, you know, how often they push pills on people is really a major problem because think of it like this. We know that there are certain mental health problems you better be on medication for, okay, like schizophrenia, right? When you start to hear voices and see things that aren't there, you need to be on medication because without it, you can really do some major damage. And there are people who do that and they don't even know what they did, okay? Bipolar is another one, right? You know, because you could stay up for 2-3 days and just have no clue what the hell you just did, all right? So certain mental illnesses, you need medication. Okay. Now, if you have just kind of basic depression, right, or mild anxiety, there's so many other things that you can do that are going to be healthier for you. And that's what they're learning now is because it's like drugs, you become dependent on it after a while. You see what I'm saying? And we really have a huge problem right now because so many of us are either on Adderall or something like Xanax or something like that. Yeah, and that's essentially what you're seeing. It's just kind of the effect of that.
But that just numbs people, right?
Exactly. It's not curing nothing. It's like Tylenol or whatever. It's not healing it, right? And because you don't feel the pain, you feel like you're okay. But then when it wears off, now you're panicking even more because you're like, where's my, you know what I mean? And I don't think anybody wants to be dependent on medication. But sometimes you do need it to kind of get out of certain places. But where I work at, that's one of the things we're really known for is we kind of exhaust everything and then pills last. And, it's just important not to give up on your health because you go to a therapist and it wasn't a good experience for you. I hear that all the time. Like people will come to me and they're like, therapy doesn't work. I'm like, what do you mean?
What do you mean it don't work, buddy?
Well, I went to this one person 15 years ago and they did this. I'm like, that's just one person. Remember, you're only dealing with one person. You see what I mean? So you can go to different therapists. You've got totally different experiences. It is hard to find a good therapist. I will definitely give you that. It is. But if you find one, it's worth it. But I always say, research yourself. Just how did he help you emotionally?
You said it was a good therapist, though, because
he was your good instinct.
Yeah,
okay.
your first visit? Your first visit? I remember I've gone to maybe 3 different therapists over my life. And I knew to look for a psychologist over a psychiatrist because I didn't want pills. And yeah, it took 3 tries for me to find someone. I was like, oh, they get me.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so no medication. You're just trying to find somebody to talk to. You know, kind of like where I'm from, it's like you can't find one else to talk to, then I guess you don't need to say it. Well, like you just deal with it. You know what I mean? That's how I come up. Like,
Well,
if I couldn't come to somebody and be like, man, this has bought me X, Y, and Z, and I wasn't feeling like I would be not shunned, but like, you know, looked at differently, or I wasn't being that man, you know what I mean?
no doubt.
Then I'd be like, stick this in the box. Don't worry about it.
I'm so glad you said that, my brother, because I'm sorry about this.
It's all good. Tell them to come on, get on the show.
I'm so sorry, but because we do have the federal contract, right? And
This is
Man, it's time like you got the police coming up. Time you to go.
we'll turn this off. I'm sorry. So because we do have the federal contract, so these are guys who did federal time, and you know these are DC guys, and so we're talking about some real hardcore criminal stuff, right? So
Yeah.
we've been doing this 15 years, and we have a really good reputation, and I have really, you know, befriended hundreds of them, all right. And this is kind of what happens, right? They'll come, and they come from that same type of background, right? And then what they kind of realize is that all it really is just them being honest about who they are in their life right now, right?
Right.
That's really all it is. I think what happens is people have all these kind of fantasies of what therapy is. You know what I'm saying? And they think it's
I
about,
want to lay on the couch.
yeah, and just cry and just, you know, and open up about telling your deep dark secrets. That's not, you know, that's just like TV stuff. So
Oh, okay.
what happens is when these guys come, they end up being people who keep coming even when they, you know, after they finish.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like literally to this day, tens, 50s, 100 guys who just keep coming back, and they'll just, you know, these are like, you know, Lord guys. Y'all know what Lord guys are, right?
Yeah, I do some of them.
Yeah, so these are guys who, you know, just who really who such tough macho guys who just needed to be able to just be honest about who they were and what they want to do with their lives. And I learned it was okay to cry from dudes who kill people, and they sitting in front of me and they crying and they're like, man, you gotta let it out somehow. You
Hey.
see, when a guy who's been convicted of murder and who's tougher than you, who's tougher than you've ever been, is crying in front of you, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, toughness for, you know, suckers. So for me, I was like, if he can cry, I don't know, you know. So,
You know, a lot of murders are committed out of emotion. So
It is.
just because he's a murderer don't mean he ain't got a lot of emotions inside of him, you know what I mean?
No doubt.
And something whoever, you know, sometimes somebody put the wrong emotion out. Okay.
No doubt. Anger is really, I do a class called Anger versus Forgiveness.
So really,
Wait, laughing?
Yeah, because
something you should probably take.
anger versus forgiveness. And,
I like being angry sometimes.
See, look, see, that's what I got to deal with, sir.
It's, I say like this, anger is a lot like alcohol, right? A little once in a while might kind of feel something, right? But the more you entertain it, the more than likely you're going to end up doing something or saying something that you regret.
Yeah.
I thought it brought out your true feelings.
But alcohol, truth there?
Yeah, I thought it was the true feelings.
It brings out something.
Yeah, it definitely do to some people. Some people want to fight.
So we had a question in the audience, and I hope she didn't forget her question.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, something, you know, I've seen over 10 therapists. I'm 22 years old. I recently witnessed a murder, and I just like finding the ability to forgive myself and others who have done wrong is really hard, because I see myself do things and I know I do it with honesty and integrity, and I know that other people are struggling to get to the same place. Like, you know, like, can you talk about how hard it is after the first therapist fucks up and tells you something that makes you want to never go to therapy again? Like, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with clients or patients who have had their whole lives to do wrong because that's all anyone expected from them? And now they're trying to become a real person for the first time in their life outside of violence, drugs, alcohol, abuse. Like, what is the first thing you say to someone when they come to you? Like, what do you tell them?
Well, all right, this is probably the most important thing I learned as a therapist. If you really want to help somebody, you have to meet them where they are, not where you want them to be.
Right.
Let me repeat that. If you really want to help somebody,
Yes.
you have to meet them where they are, not where you want them to be. So one thing is, you can't force anybody to forgive anything.
Do you ever get angry at your clients? Do you ever feel annoyed and
Of
frustrated
course.
and want to like kick them out of the office?
Of course. Yeah.
Todd's talking about the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you just kind of have to know how to set boundaries. But as far as forgiveness, it's like this. If you do something to hurt me, right? If I forgive you, am I saying what you did was okay?
No, you're not.
Am I saying it was right?
No.
What am I doing is, when I remember what happened, I'm
You feel it all over again.
I'm at peace within myself, right? So the whole point of forgiveness, you're not forgiving the other person because they deserve it. You're forgiving them because you need it. And so forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you, because the holding on to the toxic emotion, and science can prove now that anger is a toxic emotion.
No, it causes, I study public health. I know exactly what it does. It destroys your brain, it destroys your body. Health is everything. And if you're being abused, your brain is sending toxic hormones that is damaging your body irreparably. There's a lot of science now about how racism is a long-term health condition, because if you spend your entire life fearing everything around you, when you're 50 years old, yeah, you're gonna get diabetes because no one cares about you outside of your family, and the government thinks you're stupid. Like, and that's what it feels like as a public health student, is that everything I do is trying to figure out a way to talk to people different from me, who have been through so much and have absolutely no reason to trust me, and if they're smart, they don't trust me. Like, how do you, like, what is something you do to establish trust with clients?
Well, it's really basic human respect. Okay, one thing is, before anybody comes to me, I don't read anything paperwork.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to meet them, and you just show them the utmost respect. And that alone, right, will get you 50% there.
Yeah.
Right? And then another thing is, you can't expect somebody to trust you if they don't know you.
I mean, how do you overcome the fact that you're talking to people who have killed other humans and taken their lives forever? It'll never change. They've done that. And I know, like, every time I make a mistake, I spend 2 months wishing I had done something differently. Like, how do you help someone who's killed someone? Like, what is your thought process, and like, what do you observe in the way that they seek atonement?
Well, as we answer these questions, I don't know if the people could hear or how you.
Oh, they probably can.
Yeah, they can.
They can
hear. Okay, good.
I look great on camera too.
You can come over here if you want.
Yeah.
Come on up here.
Come on.
You gotta give another haircut.
Come on, girl, bring it.
Come on.
I'm wearing my pajamas. I'm sorry. I live down the street.
Don't tell everybody.
No, everyone. These are my pajamas. They're comfortable and affordable. How do I do this? Around the neck?
Right there. Put it up on your head. See how I got his around his ears?
Yeah.
Up a little higher.
You got the wrong one.
I have another headphone, so
All
I'm
right.
perfect.
Oh, I'm the only one that has on the top of it.
Well, I don't know why you're doing that. You have the best hair of anyone on stage.
Watch it now. My head better than her.
That's not true. You know that. Don't lie to yourself.
There you go. All right.
So one of the things you had mentioned, forgiveness, and that's one of the hardest things for me to do. Like, I don't like to do it. So if you wronged me, I would just say F you, and I just forget that you even exist. Like, I can just forget about it.
Me too.
Like, I don't want to sit down with you. I don't want you to apologize to me because
It doesn't even feel sincere half the
No.
time, and you know that they mean it, but like the words they're using are the words they've used to seek forgiveness with every other person they hurt. And like, it's very hard for me, you know, I'm bipolar. It took me 5 years to get diagnosed, and I dropped out of college because of it, because I saw a lot of terrible things happen to people I love, and it made me resentful. And then I realized that the therapist and psychiatrist I was seeing, they saw me, but they didn't understand me, and it didn't work, because the things I would tell them, they wouldn't give me the sort of tools that I felt I needed at the time to like manage it. You know, I was sexually abused as a child, and that's going to impact me for the rest of my life. But there are some people who know how to manage that and help me, and maybe some people who could find someone who's like me on paper but totally different as a patient, and it'll work great. But I've seen them, and they said something to me that gave me a panic attack when I went home, and I could never see them again.
wow.
And it's like, my parents pay for my medical bills, and if my parents couldn't afford it, and you know, my dad's job is tenuous, so if he loses a job, I'm looking at how do I pay for healthcare when the people who are trained best to manage my issues won't even take insurance. And like, you know, like, I love to read, I love to write, I process my own trauma every day. But that's not the same thing as having someone who trained their entire life. Or, you know, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever. If someone like that, who has studied what is wrong with me, can't tell me what is wrong with me accurately, I don't want to see someone else ever. And now I'm like, you know, I want to treat my boyfriend with respect and kindness. I don't want to perpetuate the sort of unhealthy habits I learned from him, like from like the people who have hurt me, when he loves me so unconditionally. But like, still, he shouldn't have to deal with my trauma.
Yeah.
Someone should be paid to do it.
As a counselor, a therapist, is there ever a time where the therapist say, you know what, I'm not going to be selfish. I don't think I can help this person. Let me refer them to.
Well, ethically, that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
All right.
I mean, how much does money, like, what do you, like, you know, like, I know my therapist
Just keep
wants my money. I want your money, so, like, why wouldn't you want mine? Like,
We're really lucky that we have a federal contract.
right.
So, you know, about 80% of our guys are guys who've been locked up in federal prisons. And the federal government pays for the whole thing. So we don't ask them for any type of, you know, that really makes a big difference. But other therapists who are trying to survive, because it's capitalism, it's a business, right?
Yeah.
Even though I'm here to help you, if I don't make money, I'm not going to, you know,
I
can't
mean,
feed
like,
my
how
kids,
many
so-
clients do you see where you're like, if capitalism wasn't the system that dictated our daily existence, like, oh, I could help you. I could help you so
Oh.
much. Like, do you think about that every day? Because
Oh.
I think about it every day.
Well, because of where I work specifically, we don't have to deal with like you having to pay out of pocket because
Right.
these are guys who.
Do you see them in prison? Do you go to
No, that's
Okay, they're
after
out.
they come on. So these are guys either on pretrial, right?
Okay.
So these are federal, because it's federal. For state charges, they don't pay, but for federal, they'll pay.
Yeah.
So because of that, we don't have to deal with like them, you know, billing them. Right? I'm not gonna try to help you and then I'm billing you for saying, oh, you didn't pay for it. You know, it just totally messes up the report. And that's what most therapists is, you know, their heart is in the right place, but the system really isn't able to allow them to help the way they want and they need the help. So that's really just kind of what, you know, what's happening in our society.
Right.
And
I mean, I know that you're working with people from out of prison, so like you're probably dealing with issues of, you know, addiction and people who in prison could not do drugs or smoke the way they would out of prison. Like, how do you help people manage these sorts of newfound freedoms after years of having every aspect of their life controlled?
That's a good question.
And like, you know, they've had the people who were trained and paid to help them navigate a system of violence, and those people have failed them. Like, how do you not give up?
Well, one of the things is if you focus on all the obstacles around you.
Yeah.
And then all you're going to do is become bitter and angry. So that's
Right.
one thing you don't do.
I mean, how do you not become bitter and angry? Do you see a therapist?
Well, I don't see therapists, but I really learn how to meditate.
Right.
Really
Like
learn how to
mindfulness?
meditate, yes.
How do you, do you use,
Well,
I recently have become really fond of, parts and systems and family systems and listening to, it's like you have this inclination, I love to smoke weed and it makes me unproductive. And so I have to talk to myself and say that the reason I want to smoke weed is because I want to escape my daily existence. Because as happy as I am, there are all of these problems that I can't solve. Like my dad got hit by a car. My mom is depressed. How the fuck do I deal with that? Well, I'm living in Washington, D.C., and they're in 5,000 people dwelling Arkansas. I want to resent them, but I love them more than anyone in my life. It's is there a point? Have you ever given up on someone?
Well, it's not my place to give up on anybody.
Right.
I don't have a kind of complex like I can fix anybody, right? All I can do is provide an atmosphere.
Right.
So what I do is I provide an atmosphere that allows them to, if they want, right, grow in here. But if they're not willing or unable for whatever reason, I'm not going to get upset because how's that helping? Then I just become an extra problem.
You just, yeah.
So just to kind of,
how much do you,
that's why acceptance is the core of.
how much do you think about what you hear when you go home at night? Do you think about it before you fall asleep? Because I wonder if my therapists are thinking about if I'm a crazy person before they fall asleep. Do you ever
Their
think about
patients
that?
are the last thing they want to think about when they go home.
Yeah,
That's work.
yeah, exactly. So is that how it is for you?
No, see, I think you have a kind of misconception.
I would love to find out.
It's not common. Let's talk about every horrible thing that's happening in
Yeah.
your life. Okay. Right now, there's many beautiful things that are happening within you
Yeah,
that you're not paying attention to.
exactly.
My job is to show you that as all these horrible things are happening, there's also a lot of beautiful things that are happening, right? So it's gratitude versus stress.
Right. What are the sort of topics that someone who's been released from prison is able to find peace thinking about? Because I think about nature, I think about happiness and joy, and the people who love me, and I pray. Prayer is a big thing for me. I was raised Christian, but I left religion when I was younger because I thought I knew more, and I still feel like I know a lot, but I find faith and prayer. Is that something that's big for your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I say this all the time. You can't judge people based on their past. Mm-hmm. It's easy to say, oh, this person's been in prison, therefore they're going to have mental health problems. Some of the most healthy people mentally that I've met are guys who came home from prison. Mm-hmm. Right? Because they have perspective.
Right.
They were locked up and they were able to just kind of realize that certain things were outside of their control, so they were able to practice acceptance.
Right.
So it just goes down to just kind of being a basic human.
Right. Do
And
people ever express anger with you? Do you fear people? I mean, I'm sure people express anger with you every day.
No.
You cut them off driving into work?
No, we don't have any problems because once you treat people with respect, right?
Yeah.
And they know that you're in a genuine place. It's the opposite. They love you.
Yeah.
They look out for you.
What made you decide you wanted to be a therapist?
Good question. Because I was bad with computers and math.
Oh, me too. Me too. Really?
Well,
You're a smart man. I doubt that.
Nah, trust me, it's different intelligence.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's probably something you think about a lot as a therapist.
And I would say this, just because I'm over here talking about it doesn't mean I'm doing it. I'll say this to everybody, okay? I can know intellectually how to be healthy. Doesn't mean I'm actually doing it. Those are two separate things.
Oh, absolutely. I'm addicted to cigarettes, and I study public health, and I feel like a fraud every time I step in the class. But also, I forgive myself for being an addict, and I'm working on it. But that's a lot to overcome because it's very easy every time I light up a cigarette to think, this is my next greatest failure.
Well, I would say this. You're how old? 22?
I'm 22.
22. See, I'm 41, and
You look great.
Thank you. But time will tell you ultimately why certain things just aren't worth it. Because right now you have so much energy.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do.
There's a great guy, his name is Sadhguru, who wrote a book called Inner Engineering. That book has helped me more than any other. I learned more from this one book than I have.
Do you have an entire list of book recommendations
I only
for
have
people?
one.
Okay, so that's your
Inner
recommendation.
Engineering. Just read that.
Is it something that someone could read who can't afford therapy otherwise and could gain a lot from? Because I think that a lot of people
I got it
are
for
looking.
$14. I learned more from this book and from him, right? And
Okay.
he said this: when you're young, you have a lot of energy but very little clarity. When you get older, you start to have clarity on what you want, but your energy starts to what?
Okay.
So when you're young, you have all this energy to be angry.
I do.
Because you can, I can't be angry like you because it's going to drain me. I can't really be functional. So part of it is you can do it and still be accomplished, but you're still just, that's a lot of energy that's being spent in anger and bitterness. And if you want, you can. There's a whole bunch of things in life
You
can
could
look
die
at.
better.
You can do it. It's your life. I wouldn't recommend it.
I feel like the most bitter people are the ones who die at old age. The happy people go first.
I think a lot about what it means to come to terms with death, and I don't see myself dying for a long time, but my parents are in their 60s and their relatives are in their 70s and my grandparents are all dead. And I know that finding peace with death is a lot like finding peace with life, because you're forgiving yourself for every time you messed up, and you're forgiving the people who wronged you, and you're recognizing your own part in all of it. Do you think, one question I have, because I think it's important to people who are looking for mental health care, is how much is your copay? Do you take insurance? A lot of people don't. Sorry if that's too much. You can ignore it.
No, it's not too much. Believe it or not, if you really want good health care,
You pay for it.
no, you lose your job. The best health care is when you're unemployed, because they cover everything. Right? So people who work, those are the ones who really can't really get treated, because then you have to have
And
a
then they
copay.
happy. Your insurance is giving you 10 visits.
No, if you're really, really old, if you have Medicare, or if you're poor, if you have Medicaid, you can get treatment.
Right.
But it's the people in between, right?
So where do you work?
Family Health Center, we have an office in Hinesville and another one in Gaithersburg.
Okay.
So
What is the average age of your client, if you could guess? Because I know you're dealing with people who've been released from prison, people who are going to prison.
it varies. We get all, 20s, 30s, 40s.
And is it do you notice really specific trends of the sort of mental health problems they have? Is it a lot of mood disorders, or is it something else, or is it just all over the board, and making these sorts of extrapolations is pointless? Tell me.
It really is pointless, because look, if you try to get to know somebody by reading a book, you're gonna miss them.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. It's not about, you have to literally treat the person like a unique individual, and you have to get to know them outside of labeling them. Because if I just start labeling you, oh, you're this, or you're this, you're this, you're this, you're this, I'm gonna miss you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you let the stuff you study guide you, but you don't make it that's one of the main reasons why people have bad experiences. Because you come to a therapist, and I can start labeling you, I diagnose you, I tell you what's wrong with you.
So you expect instant fixing.
Yes.
That could be an issue too.
Yeah.
All right, I think Ty's ready to jump back on for the next
ready
segment.
to jump back up.
Well, thank you for being, transparent with us.
Yeah, it was lovely
Sharing.
talking to everyone. Nice to meet you.
You're in Chinese.
I'm Anna.
Hi, Anna.
Anna.
Wow.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Long time.
Nice to meet you.
I had his little commercial break. You ready to jump back in, baby?
Oh, baby. What we talking about? Chicken?
You want to talk about chicken?
The chicken?
Black people in they shit.
Ain't like you.
You want hot sauce and watermelon too?
No. I like some watermelon though.
You don't like hot sauce?
No.
What?
It's not good. It messes with my, what you call it? Acid reflux.
So what do you, getting back on topic, what do you think about your environment when it comes to healing or trauma. Like so many people want to be better and feel better, but you're still married to that little piece of crap. You still work at that piece of its job.
Wait a minute, no.
Like until you get out of certain situations, like
Hold up, I
How
can be
can
your
you
therapist
be-
in this situation. Leave that piece of crap alone.
thank you. That's what I'm saying.
Like, Doc, come on, Doc, tell it. Ask you some simple questions here now.
No, but that's
Gonna make this stuff a little bit
That's what
harder
I'm
than
saying.
this.
There are people who expect different changes, but they don't change the people that they are around or the situation they're in.
That's just stuck in the cement. So, come on, Doc, tell us.
So, as a therapist,
Beautiful.
can
This
you
is
tell
beautiful,
people?
right? Because this is what devotion and action is all about. As you can
We're
see.
not gonna get along. This right here is
But
gonna drive
this is a
you down.
beautiful thing, right? Because you're like,
Pull the
do
trigger.
it. Get rid of it, right?
Right.
You're just like, but when you love somebody, you devote it to them, you know. Right.
I don't like me. Bye.
Well, look, the environment is always the influencer,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we're always going to be influenced by our environment, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, it's essential, it's important, because it's always influencing me, right? Now, the thing is, certain environments are easier to change than others. That's why I feel for like 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds, right? Because you can't just move out of your neighborhood. You know what I mean? If your group of friends are just really just bad, like you know, what the stuff that they're into is really, really messed up, right?
Your mama better move your ass then.
Yeah, but maybe the mother is not willing. So that's why I feel for them. As an adult, it is easier to change our environment than it is, right? So we don't have 100% control over what we're going to see and what we're going to hear, right?
Come on.
But you definitely have control over how you take it. Right? So there's a sensation of perception. Sensation is outward. It's what's happening out here. Perception is inward. So your perception, regardless of what you see and hear, is on you. But you have to slow down and pay attention to it, right? And this is one thing I tell people, they don't like to hear it, but it's the truth, right?
Oh man, that's why they
Now,
don't
right,
like.
straight to
That's
time.
not, don't direct it to me because I don't mind hearing the truth.
This is what I always say, right? Okay, I'm gonna tell you the difference between the healthy mind and the unhealthy mind. Okay?
Okay.
This is the unhealthy mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm angry. Right now I'm angry, right? So there's tension over here, there's tension within me, right? Okay. Ask me what's wrong.
What's wrong with you?
You know what that motherfucker did? You know what that motherfucker did?
What did he do?
This is again the unhealthy mind. Ask me what's wrong.
What's wrong?
You know what that bitch said? You know what that bitch said?
No, what you say?
This is the unhealthy mind. The unhealthy mind always believes that I'm angry because of something that I heard. This is the healthy mind. I'm angry.
What you mad about?
Ask me. I allowed what this motherfucker did to get me.
Hey,
This is the healthy mind. I'm angry. Ask me what's wrong.
what's wrong?
I allowed what this bitch said to get me.
Yeah.
This is the foundation of the difference. If I believe that I am the way I am because of you, I'm going to be angry all the time.
Yo.
But if I know that I allow what I saw or what I heard, right? Because unless I put my hands on you, I can't make you feel anything. It's you and your perception. But this is a skill that you have to develop and work on. First, you have to be willing to see it that way, but most people, they don't want to do that because they really want to blame.
Accountability.
You ask them what's wrong, they always want to tell you about what somebody else did. They don't want to tell you how they allowed themselves to get this way.
Damn.
And that's the foundation right there.
That's
But
me.
People don't want to hear that.
See, that's
What's you? Blaming other people?
nah, I don't blame nobody for nothing. I blame myself because I let you do
Yeah, that you do.
You halfway there.
it. Yeah. I let you do that shit.
You're not responsible for everything, though.
I mean, if I'm dealing with you, I'm responsible for it off the jump.
Because you can always just leave that situation.
I can always, as soon as I hear you say the first dumb thing, I can do just like this. Talk to you on Thursday. And never see you on Thursday. For real. Like, I want to ask you this. We were talking earlier, right? We were talking about forgiving people. Ain't it just easy for me to forget them?
Right, that's what I said. I just forget
I mean, like, for real, why I gotta forgive you if you did me wrong, and I really don't want to accept your apology because of the shit you did wrong to me anyway. So why don't I just forget you?
Well, I think this is the problem, right? I think most people really don't have their definition of forgiveness is not forgiveness. They think condoning is forgiveness.
Okay.
Right? Because most people think this is forgiveness, right? You do something to hurt me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I say, all right, well, come on, let's act like it didn't happen. That's not forgiveness. That's stupid, right?
That's
Yeah, because when people do things, right, for you to act like it didn't happen, you setting yourself up for failure, right? Because if it happens again, right?
They gonna want you to say the same thing, right? They gonna want you to say, "Oh, I accept your apology. I'm sorry, baby."
Yeah, and people, that's not forgiveness. That's condoning it. Okay. Forgiveness is this. First of all, it'd be nice to forget things, right? But you don't have the power to forget it, and you
We just
won't
don't
forget it.
think about it.
You can try.
Oh no,
right?
my memory.
You can try.
My memory been a little messed up lately, Doc. I might be able to get
But
over
what's
it.
going to happen is eventually, right? You're going to see something down the line, or you're going to hear something down the line that triggers the memory. Now you're going to remember it, right?
Oh.
Okay, and this is what happens with most people, right? Something happens in their life, and they want to just move on.
Okay.
Okay. Well, there's two things that we know that's unhealthy in psychology. Okay. One is dwelling on the problem. All right?
Mm-hmm.
The two is acting like the problem ain't what?
Exists.
You see? So
Yeah.
people want to just kind of forget it. No, because what's going to happen is if you're emotionally attached, the memory is going to spark the emotion in you.
So how do you
And then you're going to flip
detach?
out later on somebody else, and then it's going to be like, hey, what the hell did I do? It wasn't
Like-
even about you.
You
Something that
reminded me of her. That's
Yeah, like
what
I
you
feel
did.
like I'm good. I don't think about it until somebody brings up the incident or brings up the person, and then I gotta relive it, and then I'm mad again, and then I want to choke shit out somebody again.
See
But
I
I
told
was
y'all about
good.
women.
But I ain't thinking about it all month.
I told y'all women is violent.
Just sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing, that disconnect. For me,
Somebody.
that disconnect is me. I don't think about you. I don't talk about you. I don't talk about the situation. You're just like dead to me. Like
Yeah.
you don't exist
See, forget.
until somebody brings it up.
Well, they will, because you don't have that power to control what you're going to see and what you're going to hear.
Wow.
You don't. So
Lose my.
when you do, right, for you to keep being upset and making yourself sick, when you're young, it's not, because again, you're healthy, right? But what happens is if you go to the hospital now, what you'll find is a significant portion of the people are there, and they'll tell you, oh, there's nothing wrong with you, you just have too much what? Stress.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So your mind is so powerful that it's killing you. Right? So you can harbor it all you want. You think, some people believe it's their right, it's my right to be angry. Oh, it's your right to kill yourself. Right? But the science will tell you that all you're really doing is just destroying yourself. Right? So this is what I tell people. You don't forgive people because they deserve it, because you need it. That's why you forgive. And you're not saying what they did was okay. You're not saying it was right. It's just that when you remember what happened, you're not holding all this tension within yourself.
Because you forgave him.
You just made peace with it. That's all. You're not saying what they did was right. Right? You're not, there's a great quote. Resentment is like drinking poison and hoping it will kill your enemy.
Good gracious.
Ooh, I like that.
How about we just get an enemy to poison and then we can really forgive him?
Yeah.
Yeah, bring him in here. Let's find out what happened.
Yeah. That's deep though.
All right, what else we got?
So we working on forgiveness in 2020 tied together.
Start with self-forgiveness and it'll be easier to forgive others.
Oh, perfect. I'm good.
I didn't take nobody in 2020. I ain't take nobody in 2020. I need to forgive. I forgot them already.
You got it in 2019.
19, I forgot them already.
What if you realized you did leave them 2 months from now?
Who me?
Yeah. You thought you forgot them, but you didn't.
I act like I don't know.
I
There they go. That's why
don't know who ain't there calling them. What you
That's
talking about?
Yeah, I'm not. No time for it. You did me wrong. Gotta go. See you later. Robert Harris. Look at him.
Oh yeah, the great one.
The great Robert Harris. Gotta go. And I gotta go. All right, so what else we got here now? We'll talk to me. So, now, lately, what was this in the news? The Airbnb social media scam. I think you already said that one, right? The anxiety epidemic.
We
You
talked
talked
about
about that one too?
Yeah. I think we did. We talked about it, right? Yeah. We didn't talk about the draining ass people. Like, I have removed people, forgot about them, they're dead. I've removed them from my life because they're just draining. Whether it's drama constantly, they're just super negative, they're always...
What's your name?
What? No, say, we're not gonna say names.
Oh,
We're not giving nobody publicity, though, on my show. But yeah, just certain people
Might give him a little
who
blow.
they just drain. They just suck the life out of you. They just,
Wait a minute now. You gotta watch what you
But
say
if you
around
work-
there.
if you
There's
work-
some dudes in here now. You said suck the life out of them. You might like that. Well,
I need
from
a water gun on
you
this
suck
show.
the life out of me. What's your name, girl?
I'm gonna need a water gun.
Hey man, look, you gotta be grandmother. You gotta, hey, look, you know, ain't you one of the millennials that when they got
I'm not a millennial.
when they make you say pause when you say certain things?
Is that what it is, Paul, now? It used to be what, no homo or...
Yeah, that's one of them too.
Yeah.
You female, so you can't say that one.
It applies, I suppose.
No.
But yeah, so what, like, how do you just deal with people that just, you know, those vampires, those
This is
Well,
people like that?
what? I make people laugh. Look, everybody in here is laughing.
Everybody needs a time in their life because, you know.
'Cause you get some shit
laughing
done.
is very important, and you get shit done. I'm definitely about that.
Yeah, get shit done.
That's,
He's gonna ride that forever.
he earned
I
it.
get shit done. This is my record is shown.
I'm here because of time.
Yeah.
Say it again.
I'm here because of time. He didn't ask me to. He told me to be here.
What's my name?
Mr. Action.
Yeah.
I was downstairs, and they said the owner of Illusion, Tina, who we love very, very much.
Is
Tina.
Tina here? Hey, Tina. She downstairs.
She's not here.
Yes, and actually, salam to her sister. We love salam to.
Salam.
Hey,
You
Salon.
ready to come on and be on camera today?
No, but
I could never get her
I
on
do.
camera.
Should I get another drink?
Oh, you. Uh-oh. I ain't got nothing to do with it.
Shut up. But what happened
So
here?
we're downstairs, and I met him just one time before. And she just said, oh, you know, he's a therapist. He was like, all right, come on, you're going to do the show next week. He didn't ask me. He just told me to do it. He just asked.
Oh, no, that is true.
But it wasn't a
That's not-
disrespectful way. It was just like, you know, he was just like, oh, come on, you can do it next week. But what I'm saying is, certain people just get things done.
Like
He's earned it.
we met for the first time, was it November?
Yup.
And he was out here, we're gonna do the show this day. And I'm just like, wait, what? Wait, time out.
When y'all asked me to
And
put this
then-
thing together, y'all say, they called me out there, they say, look, we want to sit down with you, we want you to put this podcast together. I say, sure, no problem. Who gonna be on it? You and you.
I was like, what? Hi.
Hey,
They
Okay.
put it together.
And then I was like, I've never been on camera, so let's do like a fake show and put the camera. So we set everything up, and he's like, well, there's only one way to get out of being camera shy. We're going live.
My bad.
I wasn't prepared for this.
That's
Yeah,
how,
you were.
that's how they do you.
I was, just didn't think I was.
That's how they do you when you jumping on the airplane for the first time. They ain't got time for you to be sitting up there. No, you be sitting right there where you at right now. Pull a lever.
You know, I wasn't ready. Well, I was ready. But in my head, I was like, no.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to help y'all. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. No more credits. No more credits.
First time.
No more.
Yeah. I got another one for you to come on. I got a couple more shows for you to check out. You know what I mean? Once you meet my lounge boys, brothers, they gonna come to me every once in a while, get on the grown folk when they time permits and that sort of thing. We're gonna be back here again on Friday. I don't know if it'll be next. Is it next Friday? Okay, we'll be back here next Friday for happy hour. We want people to come on out and chill.
I'm out.
You out?
I'll be here.
All right.
I'm out.
Hey, look, you know what I need you to do? You on social media?
I'm on social media.
I need you to share
Yeah, give
this
me your-
for
give me your
everybody.
info,
You gotta add them to the group.
Absolutely.
For sure. We gotta do all of that. Yeah, we still got some time too. What time is it? 7:25. We got 35 minutes.
Let me go through the comments. Does anybody have any questions for Sam?
Let's see some of these fellas out here. Where my brethren at? Oh, he already scratching his chin like,
What you
what
say?
you mean, dog? She too mean for me to be asking questions. See that?
Well, you know what? So you weren't over here when we were arguing about debate versus argument. What is there a difference?
Oh yeah.
There's not a
Let
difference.
me go to the dictionary.
See,
All right, what's the difference?
You gonna go to the dictionary? Which one, the urban or the western?
Let's try urban.
Debate is like civilized argument. That's all it is.
But it's still argument.
It's not an argument. In a debate,
There are rules in the debate, you know. Debate is supposed to let the person finish. And
Yeah, right.
It's supposed to be civilized.
Right.
And you're not supposed to yell and scream at.
And you're supposed to state facts.
But,
In an argument, one person can be lying, other can tell the truth.
yeah, but I guess you are kind of arguing in a debate.
Yeah. Like they say
You are
closing
arguing.
argument
True.
in trial, right? Closing argument.
In trial.
It's above my pay grade.
Why is my trial an argument? That's what I would like to know then there.
Because it's
Because
debate.
I'm not arguing with nobody. I'm stating that I did not do this shit and I should be free. And that is not an argument. That is the absolute truth.
You
So
have
you
to
can
I do
represent
not-
yourself.
Hey, look.
You have to prove it though.
It's my word against somebody who think they saw something. They might wear
No,
glasses.
it's 2020. We saw it.
What do you tell someone who
It's
loves
all.
to argue but knows that it's causing divisions? Like, I love a good fight, but I know that not everyone does. I just love to talk about
Oh,
feelings.
fuck it. Just
Like,
keep
what do you
going.
do? Just keep going? Okay.
That's what I do. Shit, I like to argue too. Why not? You know, I'm right. Even when I'm wrong.
Me
But,
too.
you know, most females are.
Don't listen to him, please don't.
I've got a friend in here and a husband in here.
Oh, yeah.
Do I like to?
I was going to say, yeah, that's a good question. Hey, you got, what I want that. Do I get a hug somewhere else?
I didn't mean it that way.
Maybe I should bring him on the camera. Let him sit and be on the couch for a
No,
little
you
while.
get him over there. 'Cause he-
Let y'all have a counseling session real quick.
You're gonna be God.
Find out where the other husband is.
Yeah, get her, Sam.
Oh, you sign off.
Get the skeletons out the closet.
So, do I like to argue?
Mm-mm. You heard the man.
I didn't hear him, thank goodness. So, do I like to argue?
Think you like to argue?
Yes.
Nah,
See? Boom.
not really.
Do I
Yeah.
like to argue?
Who you asking
But you
now?
like to get
I'm asking.
you like to get
Your point across.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Like I'm passionate in my beliefs. And my beliefs are always right.
No.
Wait, hold up.
That's why you listen to
Huh?
voices.
A belief is something that only you believe. You might
I believe
you
in
might have some
it.
people that believe in something similar or the same, you know, thing, but that's a belief. That ain't exactly the
It's
truth.
the fact. If I believe it, then it's fact. And it's probably
Sam?
in somebody's inside.
See, Sam, what can you tell my brother over here who is married to her how to get through that?
We've been married
Because
14
at the
years,
end,
so we clearly up to
15,
something.
he definitely need to come sit on the couch. He had to deal with her for 15 years. And she got another husband somewhere. I know you. Let me get my brother up here, let him sit down. Give him a free session.
Babe, I don't have a no problem.
All right, let's come on
I
now.
gotta deal with this all day. I don't need nothing else.
Let's see, what else can we talk about?
So the other thing we didn't talk about is this overinflated and fragile male ego.
Boy.
Yeah,
Wait a
so
It's highlighted. It's in yellow. It's in yellow.
All right, so tell me about that.
I don't know. I had said this to somebody else. Like men sometimes are just so cocky.
It's not confidence.
No.
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 No, it's
No.
not. There's a difference.
Confidence.
Being
And I feel like-
confident.
And I had said this to my cousin, like, your cockiness should match your cockiness. So unless you really bring it, then you know,
Okay, so hold up. How you supposed to find out if the dude bringing it or not?
they're the only ones
In
that are
order
allowed
for-
to be
so,
cocky.
so in order for somebody to raise their voice, y'all gonna give them a test
Yeah.
and be like, let me feel it. All right, you can go and say whatever you want to say now.
Basically, that should be how we do it. You know?
You know?
Heard it here first.
Okay. Oh,
See, all the ladies
question
in
your
the
husband ain't gonna want you out there finding out when you talking to somebody that said it
No, but
right.
that doesn't apply to me.
Huh?
Don't apply to me.
Jesus Christ. See, this is where did y'all get this from anyway? Overinflated and fragile male ego. What?
It's social media. It's people that I meet. It's people that I know.
Social media, right? Saying,
Don't say social media.
how is it possible
Hmm.
for people to determine if you are mad by reading words on the screen?
Because you can tell the tone from the way you say things.
You can't.
How?
Especially you put exclamations, everything's in caps, you put certain emojis, like, you can tell. You can tell.
Sam, please tell me how they are doing this to people.
Well, this is why we can't do therapy over the phone or we can't do therapy over the text because
It reads differently.
Yeah,
The
totally.
tone.
So that new app thing is
it'd be
so
great
cool.
for me to just be able to sit in the house and just, you know,
Right. It could be a
talk to
therapist.
you. I don't get paid, but no, I have to see you and just kind of.
Go on my Facebook page and be a therapist for the day.
Most communication is nonverbal. Right? We think communication is words, but it's a slight variation of your eyes. You know what I mean? You
You
communicate.
really be studying.
Oh, I don't listen to people's words. I pay attention to their body language because the words are just like the.
Words.
Yeah, they're just words, you know. And a lot of times, what I say in them, this is what I tell everybody. Okay, just because I'm over here talking about being healthy mentally, doesn't mean I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of times where I did a class on self-forgiveness, and I left there and I was angry and I made myself sick.
How do you not feel guilty about that?
We're human.
I might have been. I
class about
guilty back then, right? But you know, it's a work in progress. My current health is only the result of how I took care of myself most recently. I want to say this. So your mental health and your physical health is very similar, right? In other words, if I worked out 2 years ago, right? Am I going to be in great shape right now if I haven't been working out the last 3 months? In other words, what's more important? Is it the last 3 months that I've been working out or 2 years ago?
The last 3 months.
Yeah, same thing with your mental health and emotional health. It's just how you've been taking care of yourself most recently. You know, so it's that's a beautiful thing about the mind and the body is if you really are dedicated and devoted to take care of it, you would just be healthier. You know, but you do have to work towards it.
You did this, sir? Okay.
All of us.
You better watch
We're all
out.
in the same
You
boat
better
when it
watch out
comes
to
to
say
this.
that you got husbands.
We're all in the same
I'm
boat.
on your side tonight, brother. You know what I'm saying? Fix it, Jesus.
Good. I don't have no extra money. He's not coming back. He can't be part of the audience no more. Brain start drawing.
Here we go. That's that. What is it? Overinflated and fragile female ego.
That ain't no here.
It should be.
That ain't no
It
here.
should. Hey, why don't we have someone here to help the dudes when y'all going through all y'all emotional and psychological breakdowns?
Sam is sitting between you.
Where is that at?
No, you posted
Like-
something.
Like y'all break down. How often do y'all break down?
Tell me about the time you break down.
Nah.
Yes.
Nah.
Yes.
See,
There are
that's
some men
wrong.
that break
That's wrong.
down just as much
Tell
as
us
women.
what
If not more.
happened.
See,
It's
a dude is like an automobile, you know what I'm saying? We get our oil changed every what? 5,000 miles if you a truck, you know,
So what does that
joint,
mean?
if you a car, you know what I'm saying? Women get their oil changed once a month, that's when they start having all these, once a month we gotta have these problems with y'all, you know what I mean? Like, might come home, where the dinner at? I don't feel like cooking today.
We know. Why you ain't
Wait up, what?
So
Look,
here's my
just
thing.
because you're going through something here, don't mean we don't need to be kept up here.
So you know that I'm
Please,
going through something here, then use this to help me out.
I am.
So if you've been
Soon
with
as you
someone
feed
for
me.
so long, you should already know when their cycle's coming on. You should already be preparing stuff so they ain't
Don't I
exactly.
get your chocolates and stuff from you?
Oh boy.
But do you know how many years it took me?
Hold up there.
Well, it's a learning process.
I got something for this. I got something for this. Y'all ready for this?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, first I'm gonna ask y'all a question, right?
Uh-oh.
Who attempts more suicides, men or women? In other words, who
I think it's men.
Who does what?
Attempt.
You say men?
I say men.
You say men?
Attempt what, though?
Suicide.
Who attempts more suicides, men or women?
Attempt. Men.
Oh.
And it's not even close, by the way.
I'm going to say men.
Okay. Who said women? Okay. Why women?
More than it is me.
That's a good one.
I'm with the odds.
It's more
I'm with the
women.
odds.
it's more women than it is men. So
You are right. Okay, so the way it breaks down is for every one man who's going to try to kill himself, all right? About 3 women are going to try to kill themselves today. All right? Women are a lot more likely to attempt suicide, right? So who's killing themselves more every year? Now remember, women are 3 times more likely to attempt suicide. So who kills themselves more every year, men or women?
oh, it's the men. They get it
When
done.
you say attempt,
Attempt means you try. The
try.
men actually killing their damn selves.
Yeah, the men doing it.
Okay. So even though women are 3 times more likely to attempt suicide, men
Men just
4
straight
more
up.
times. So for every 1 woman who's going to kill herself, 4 men are going to kill themselves. So men are killing themselves at a lot higher rate, but women are attempting at a lot higher rate.
So here's my question. Do you think these attempts are really attempts or are they cries for help
They're both.
and attention?
They're both. Now, so this is the question to you. Why do you believe that is? That's what's important.
Because they mentally unstable.
No, I think they're just drained.
Women are mentally
Absolutely not. No,
I don't think we're
It's
unstable. I
No, I
think
think we have a lot of pressure on
There's
us.
a lot of
We have
pressure.
a lot on our shoulders.
Like,
We have to carry.
you want us to be barefoot pregnant in the kitchen and doing this.
Wait, whoa. Hold on, time out. You're not barefoot in the kitchen 24/7, 365. That's one thing, right? If you barefoot in the kitchen, you might have been in there for 9 months. There you go. Time to get back to work.
What?
And not
Go back to work.
I mean, that's
No,
what y'all do.
you're not
So let me ask- so look, so this is what-
So now
This
he's
is what-
showing this
This is what y'all.
with Jesus.
So y'all want us to take care,
No,
take care
I
of
don't want to take care of
the
me.
kids, pay for the house, pay for your car, put gas in it, put food on the table,
Don't forget to wash the car.
wash the car, get it maintenance,
Yeah.
cut the grass,
Yeah.
take the trash out, scrub the floors, what else? You want us to do all the stuff, right?
Did you say foot rub, back rub?
See, all that. All that. And what y'all gonna do?
Everything. You do it sometimes, I do it sometimes. It's equal, it's 50-50 here.
No, why you just don't let the dude do the dude things? You
What's
do?
the do thing?
What's the new thing? You can do the same thing.
I did a shopping or
So y'all want me to be sitting there thinking like I'm
What's
a
the-
dude?
what's
I'm gonna
the
be
dude
sitting there
thing?
looking at my girl outside pushing the lawnmower like this while I'm sitting out smoking a J and sipping lemonade.
Can I ask you ladies something, right?
Yeah.
So men are killing themselves a lot more than women, right? Why do you believe that is? Why are men so good?
Yeah, why are we killing ourselves?
Because they harbor, they don't talk about
And
it.
most of them is
So
murder.
you believe it's because they don't talk about it?
I believe they're going through things and they don't have anyone, they don't have an outlet.
Why do you believe, fellas, why do you believe women are so much more likely to attempt more suicides than men?
Yeah, they just
You got one more time, say I'm emotional.
because they are extremely they are extremely emotional creatures.
I really want y'all to hear this, okay? It's very important, all right?
Okay.
What part of the body processes emotion?
This is a third one?
The heart.
So it's not the vagina, it's not the penis.
No, it's the heart.
So when it comes to experiencing pain, emotional pain, all right? Whether you're a man or a woman, you're going to feel pain, emotional pain. The question is, how do you deal with it, all right? Now, men are really bred from childhood when we feel pain to suck it up.
Yep.
I told y'all that.
Okay.
I could be a doctor.
You're 100% right about that, right? So, men, we hold it in, we hold it in, we hold it in, and by the time, put it like this, we suffer the same type of abuse, emotional abuse, psychological, sexual, whatever, right? At the same age, okay? Typically what happens is, we feel the pain, and about this point, a woman feels comfortable doing something to kind of let others know. Not us. We're gonna wait, we're gonna wait, we're gonna wait, we're gonna wait. So by the time we are able, it's just, so that's why it's such violence and such harshness, and that's why, because it's just, we keep it in a lot longer. So, whatever pain that you're going through, you gotta be a human about people's pain first. It can't be a man or woman thing, right? Because if it's, if you get caught up in the stereotypes of it, because if you have a daughter, you have a son, you see what I'm saying? What's the most important thing? their health, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to emotional pain, trust me, when it comes when you love somebody and they die, both feel it. You see? So it's not going to be the gender that determines it. It's going to be the person's individual personality, their connection with something higher than themselves, and then how they deal. That's going to be what's important. So we talk about emotional pain. You both going to feel it. It's just how you deal with it. It's just that men, we're going to act like we okay. So far past when we are actually not okay. Because it's not just socially acceptable. You know the difference between men and women? Right. You having problems, right? So you about to go hang out with your girl. So before you guys get to drinking, you're going to talk about everything that's, before you start the drinking, you're going to lay it out.
I gotta tell her why we need this drink.
Okay, now this is what happens. What's up, man? Everything out here, you know how it is, right? Then we start drinking, and then when we get drunk, then we'll talk about it.
Yep.
Because that's, you see, we can't be sober and be vulnerable because it's not, we don't know how to do
They
that.
got no women like that. They don't get vulnerable.
Now
so
things are starting
Oh,
to
look.
So I just wanted to say that because that's really a very important thing.
When I get drunk.
Y'all call each other, girl, you know this nigga is dead. And then when you get there, you be like this, here you go, man, here's a bottle of wine for you, go ahead and get drunk.
Exactly.
Us, we be like this. Man, where you at, dog?
Yeah.
I know. Come on, dude.
Yeah. There's no, yeah, we're just like, man, you know, we're going to not say anything. And then when we get drunk enough, then we might let it out.
Oh, couple
Was there a man who
couple
like
months down the line, couple months down the line.
And then we're gonna laugh at each other. Yeah, and then we're gonna laugh at each other, make fun of each other. We're not gonna show each other kind of support and love.
You gonna clown your
Yeah,
ass.
exactly. That's
So
what
you
we're doing.
you never do that shit, do you?
Yes. So it's hard. It's hard.
You
Emotional.
better hang up on her ass.
So do you think it's changing now?
It's
Do
definitely
you think
changing.
men are being more vocal with their feelings? And
Oh,
Well, put it up. I think this is one of the big. This is. I want to say this. Okay.
That's
This is,
that manly.
do not think that you need to talk about what happened for you to be well. This is a big misconception. Okay. It's not that you need to talk about it, you need to acknowledge it. All right? That's the most important thing. It needs to be acknowledged and processed. You don't necessarily have to do that with words. Because this is the problem. If I need to talk in order for me to be okay, what do I need? First, I need somebody to talk to. Good luck with that. 2, the person has to be willing to listen to me. Good luck with that. 3, they have to have the time to listen to me. Okay? Good luck with that. And then 4, if they even are there and able and willing, they should at least not give me feedback to make the situation worse. So the problem is we were told whatever's bothering you, talk about it, then it'll be okay. No, because by talking about it, it could become worse. Because I could talk about it and then you could dismiss
I'm
me.
adding fuel to it.
So see, no. First you have to be acknowledge it and you have to find a way within yourself to do it. There's many different ways to do that without words. If you have the right person and they have the right time, talking could work. But do not rely on words for your emotional well-being. Because that's like saying if I was deaf, then I can't get over anything because I can't talk about it. No, they could be
So
healthy.
just find some type of outlet.
Yes, you have to acknowledge it, right? Have the right perspective. The most important thing about the past is not to regurgitate it and talk about it. It's to look at it in a way that allows me to be better now. You see what I'm saying? I just have to change how I see it. That's not necessarily a word thing.
So for me, the first thing about talking to somebody about what's going on, any piece of what's happening to me, I gotta feel like you give a damn about it.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think therapy will really work for me because unless I know the therapist, no, I'm not. I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna look at him like, fuck is you just here to judge me or you know what I'm saying? Why the hell do you give a damn about what's going on in my life? You know what I mean?
Maybe not your
But you know what you just did? You just judged him. Or you just judged him.
I am, and that's how I feel when it comes to me expressing my personal feelings. I'm like what's in my heart. That's what I keep sacred. You know what I mean?
It is a sacred thing, you know. There's different types of therapy and there's different types of approaches. Now, when it comes to painful things, right? Like loss, somebody you love dies, something like that, right?
Yeah.
The most important thing is, from my perspective, not just my work, but living, right? Is you have to be at peace with death. What I mean by that is, we're all gonna die. But not many of us are at peace with that, okay? So if you're not able to have peace with that, now how do you get that? Spirituality, religion, however you get it, okay? Because throughout history, what you'll find is there's always that one grandmother who lived to be 80, 90 years old. She's been through more than all of us. Well, how did she do it? She was able to put it in perspective. She didn't go to a therapist, see, but she did the work in ways that we don't do. So one of the things that our society now tells you is you need to talk about all your problems. And then now, when you feel like nobody's here to listen to you, now you're upset at them. Now you're blaming them because you're like this. No. Okay. There's a whole different way for you to deal without relying on words. Right? But ignoring it ain't gonna do it. And being more angry and well, you said forget it. You know, and it just builds up and it explodes over time. So yeah.
Yep. I agree.
That's what's up.
It's real.
You got a question?
Nah, ain't got no more questions. I'm mentally stable as a boy.
No,
Pretty
sir,
much
not.
are.
You think he is?
You about 8 out of 10.
Absolutely not.
8 out of 10. You got a little couple of things.
I got a couple of things I need to
It's
work
only
on.
when something tragic happens that I gotta worry about you. Other than that, you straight.
Man, that's my dog, Doc. See that? Some up here fucking with me. Yeah.
No.
Well, we gotta work on her a little bit, Doc.
No, I think I've learned how to cope with it. Like, I'm good.
You know how to cope?
Yeah.
That little twitchy, I just made it.
Here's the
That
thing,
little
right?
joint was like,
That she has a higher upside. In other words, with her, all she needs is the tools, and she's gonna just be amazing.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Because you're gonna actually be devoted to it.
amazing.
You don't have the tools, but you're gonna wait until it gets really, really bad before you reach out. You see?
No, I ain't gonna let him get too bad.
Yeah, I ain't gonna be telling her.
When I say you, I'm saying the people who have characteristics such as yourselves, right?
Yeah, I understand
You know what I mean?
Doers, action people.
Action Jackson.
You are really dating yourself.
Action Jackson, bro. Dating
I
myself.
wasn't old enough.
You know, I ain't never been nowhere by myself. Maybe I should take myself on a date one time.
Have you ever like eaten by yourself, gone to the movies by yourself?
Who, me?
Yeah.
All the time. I'm here by myself all the time.
There are people who think that is so weird. I've never been to the movies.
I ain't never been to the movie by myself. It would kind of feel kind of weird. I might feel like I got stood up or something.
That's what somebody else said. They feel like someone is going to look at them and judge them and say, oh, they must have been stood up. That's why they hit by themselves.
I used to work with a guy. He used to go to the movies by himself all the time, but he had a reason for going to the movies by himself.
What was his reason?
Because he go see like 6 movies in one day. He go sneak from one to one to one.
Oh, wow.
New
I
stuff.
thought you were going to say he was married.
No, he go see every movie that came out in the theater that day.
There's nothing wrong with getting married. Don't get married. He was
That
that
was a
day.
beautiful thing.
Marriage is.
What's wrong?
Yeah, marriage is a beautiful thing.
This is beautiful. You just gotta. So I think there are people who
How
marry
beautiful
the
is it?
wrong people, and then they hate the whole idea of marriage. You just picked the wrong partner at the time.
Well, it's about people who are
Oh, we don't want to hear it.
partnership and
Wait,
conflict.
I'm
Just messing with
He knows nothing of this. He definitely knows that.
You can't be a woman scorned type.
you. A woman's scorn. I'm a man. I just said I was a boy, Damon.
You gotta let it go.
You have to, it's about, first of all, it's about finding a compatible person.
Compatible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Not
And
compatible.
compatible and a partnership. And everybody doesn't, so you have to ask a person, do you want a relationship or you want a partnership? If a person says they want a relationship, they'll let you know that they're not on a mental level of something that is long lasting. Does that make sense to you? Because a marriage is a partnership. Even just being together for X amount of years is a partnership. It's not just a
What
relationship.
about with a business partnership?
And like the same. Where you coming with that?
Well, it's a contract too, right? Because you got to sign a piece of paper.
So you think
That's, that's one piece of paper.
that?
Huh? It is at the end of the day. You get tax breaks, don't you? Yeah, see, you got a contract there. You get to use each other's insurance.
Mm-hmm.
That's a break.
But it's bigger than that.
Okay.
It's bigger than that if you want it to be. I mean, it's whatever you want it to be.
Whatever you want it to be.
See, I said I wasn't going to fix people in 2020. I wasn't going to try to help people, but I'm going to find him a wife.
Oh, no. Slow that down. Slow that down.
That's what
I
I'm
don't need nobody to find no wife.
We coming in here just to bounce and
No. Don't need it.
Matter of fact, I'm about to
All right, so let's go back to mental health here.
No.
Lose mentality.
We gonna find time, right?
Here we go one more time. We're gonna bring it back again. The overinflated and fragile female ego. Let's get back to that.
No, clearly your ego is touched. That's why you
My
keep
ego
going.
is not
Keep
my
going back there.
ego is perfect. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Brush that dirt off my shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Stop one time. Like,
Bye time.
Bye time.
all right, good. That's perfect. I'm saying bye. I'm saying that's great. See you later. That's fine.
We got 10 minutes left, y'all.
We got how many?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. All right, so.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about that was on here while we got Doc
Hey,
here?
hold up. I just got this one thing to say though. I asked Doc for social media information, and he said, I don't have one. How do you maintain a life in 2020 and not have no social media?
You don't have one?
Oh, you ain't got one either? He married though to you, so I wouldn't have one either.
That's right. Because it will be our page.
See, because then, everything you post, she would be posting the same thing and all that kind of stuff. You wouldn't be able to
And
express
I'm monitoring
yourself.
who's liking
See,
it, who's
but how can
hearting it.
But how can, see, Doc, is that good for him, though? How can he express himself sometimes just freely and not be judged by his wife?
So, like, he has real people that he can call. He don't have to post anything. He can just call somebody.
It's not about.
And that somebody is me.
Oh, shit, see? See?
Call me.
What about your other husband? You tell him to call you too? But
Ty, shut up. Why you trying to die tonight?
Oh boy.
Oh, okay. But no, Doc, how you do that though, seriously?
Well,
Have you ever had one first? Have you ever had?
I when I first heard about it, I was like, put it like this, for business, I think it's essential, right?
Right.
But where I work at, we have so many clients. We're not, we don't need any more clients, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
So
it's
we
just
don't
one
need
of
it
the-
to market.
Yeah, we don't need to market now. If we lost the contract, it'd be different. You see what I'm saying? But
Yeah, don't speak that.
No, you already know. They got that one covered.
remember your devotion, right? And your action. I'm analysis. So I'm always analyzing everything. So that's kind of where I'm at. And ironically, in the yoga system, it's really important that you have a balance of analysis, devotion, and action. So that's something that's missing within me, because people always tell me, man, you have all this knowledge, why don't you put it out there? And that's what my clients always tell me,
And that's how I got you on this show today.
Yeah, I mean, you put it out there.
Because Tina said, Ty, you need to have him on the show. I said, no problem. When you get it, right.
He just did it. He made it happen. Because I would just analyze it all the time. So, as an analyzer, that's my
You be like,
limitation.
that right now, this isn't.
Yeah, I would analyze everything. That's why, for me, it's like,
I'm glad it worked out.
I'm glad it did too.
definitely.
Grown folk.
Yeah, I can give him a little bit of credit. I give him that.
Grown folk.
He texted me, he was like, I got somebody. I was just like, well, damn, okay.
Grown
I ain't even
folk.
gonna question because I'm like, just trust it. I'm trusting in 2020. Roll with it.
That's all right.
Well, I had a great time. Thank
She
you.
gonna trust everything you say and do, bro. You ain't got nothing to worry about.
Trust me, I ain't worried about
That's
that.
what's up.
Yeah. See, that's what you need. Then you'll realize how beautiful marriage is.
You can hang out with me one night.
Hell no.
Oh, you don't trust me?
I don't trust him.
Wait a
You don't
minute.
trust me?
I just,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
I'm good.
But I'm gonna be wherever y'all at.
No, you ain't.
No, you not.
Baby, I got like 360. I'm following you. Where you
Yeah,
at?
you do got to go.
Share
Show
location.
everywhere I go.
Yeah, I'm crazy.
Y'all better hope they don't stop. They don't hook that joint up to the satellite
I know if I
NASCAR.
see you sneaking off and go get some Chick-fil-A, you some,
Bring me back a sandwich.
I see you at
No, what the hell you on the Chick-fil-A? Yeah, I was boycotting Chick-fil-A. You're not allowed to eat
I
that.
see you at Chick-fil-A. What the hell kind of tracking system do you got?
Don't worry about it. It's for married folks.
That's one reason I believe it. Nobody tracking me that much. That's crazy. Well, we have come to the end
Yes,
of our
and
road.
our show, this was good.
It
I'm
was.
glad we did it.
Gotta thank Sam again for coming
Thank
on.
you for having me.
Yeah,
I
thank
really,
you so much,
I
Sam.
really enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to enjoy this at all, but
You had doubts?
Damn.
I
Dang, I'm
analyzed
scared to
everything.
know.
You analyzed.
Wow, I was
You
like,
like-
it's probably going to be like this. It's probably going to be
You
like
like
that.
tired of goddamn wild loose cannon, short shit.
No,
Thursday.
Right.
it's a Thursday. No, but really, truly, I really enjoyed myself. You guys have amazing chemistry. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of the first one.
We
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thanks for
Thank you for coming
coming.
up.
Ms. Devotion.
You know it. All right. And we'd like to thank our live audience for being here as well. Thank you. See you all next week.
And Salone, and Miss
Shalom.
Tina.
And Miss Tina, we
Yeah,
thank
thank you,
y'all
guys.
very much.
No doubt.
It's just like that. We out.
We out, bye y'all. I'm not waving at the phone, bye y'all.